This video is sponsored by Squarespace. So I finally got my hands on the GFX 100S2 and I'm excited to try it out. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you know I have used a bunch of the different GFX systems, starting from the GFX 100S. I've shot a full wedding with the 100S and also the 102, and I'm really excited to try out the 100S too. Let's talk about my initial thoughts on the camera, what I'm going to be testing out, and honestly, who I think this camera is for. To start out, let's talk about some of the obvious and biggest differences, which are going to be the body differences. I've been shooting with the GFX 102 for a while now, and I absolutely love that camera, but let's be honest, it is a huge camera. It's beefy in your hands, it's a little bit heavy, but my goodness, does it perform. Comparing that to the 100S2, it's a much smaller body, and honestly, I prefer that body better. The 100S2 has the same body as the 100S, which I absolutely love. The only downside, in my opinion, is there's less buttons than the 102. The button configuration on the 102 is honestly one of my favorite features of it. I have so much customization at my fingertips. Being able to switch on face auto tracking, change my white balance, change my focus mode. I have buttons set up for all of these and I can get to them extremely quickly. This makes a huge difference when you're a wedding photographer like myself, because we need to change settings at the drop of a dime, no matter what is happening during the wedding day. So you do kind of lose some of that on the 100S2, but again, you can make up for this when you start working with it. There are two buttons on the top and one on the front of the body that you can customize. And I've done this before and I'm able to get to what I need, but honestly, without a D-pad on the back, that's probably my biggest gripe with the 100S and 100S2. With the 100S2, we have two SD cards. We're used to this already, but again, you're not getting as fast of shooting as you're getting with the 102. The 102 has a CF Express card and also SD, and because of this, you're not dealing with buffer as soon. Per the specs, it looks like you're only getting about 20 to 30 shots on the 100S2, versus with the 102, your buffer goes for a very long time. And I can tell you this personally because I've tried it out. Now, does this matter to a wedding photographer? Nah. I mean, the only time I'm really using burst mode like that is during the first kiss. So 20 photos of the first kiss is more than enough for me. Also, if you're using super fast SD cards, it shouldn't be a huge problem for you. Another difference with the 100S2 is you're dealing with the normal micro HDMI that most Fujifilm cameras has. So if you're looking to do video, honestly, the 100S2 is probably not your best choice if you're doing GFX and video. I've never really been a big fan of the micro HDMI in Fujifilm cameras. However, I understand why they're there. That's what keeps the bodies nice and small. And again, comparing the 100S to the 102, it makes sense that we're dealing with a smaller HDMI. The 102 has a full-size HDMI, and honestly, because of this and just how robust the body is with video, I think I might start using it more for video production. But keep in mind, when you're dealing with the 100S2, you are dealing with that micro HDMI. And last but not least, not to jump into the specs too much, but the 100S2 doesn't have as good of a viewfinder. Every time I'm online, I see people complaining about the viewfinder and the back screen, but honestly, for me, I kind of don't care. I can see the differences when I'm looking into the cameras, but like, this is not going to change anything for me when it comes to actually taking photos. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments what y'all think about the viewfinder differences between the 100S2 and the 102. But to me, it makes sense that it's a different viewfinder. Also, speaking on the viewfinder, one of the biggest things I don't like about the 102 is the changeable viewfinder. Now, the only reason I feel like this is because I'm a wedding photographer. A lot of times I use a flash on my camera and I use that flash to trigger my off-camera flashes as well. And the viewfinder on the 102 has a little bit of a wobble to it. Like, it's not stuck in there extremely hard. And so because of this, with a flash in the hot shoe, I'm kind of worried that it might pull the whole viewfinder off at some point. I'm hoping I'm just a little paranoid about it, but it doesn't look good when you see the viewfinder just having a little bit of give to it. So the 100S2 body, in my opinion, is much better for a wedding photographer. If you're the type who needs to run and gun, or you're moving around a lot, and you just need things to work and nothing to like fall off, the 100S2 is definitely going to do that for you. The body feels like such a little tank. And while the 102 is a beastie body as well, The 100S2 is what I prefer for weddings. Speaking of weddings, if you're looking to become a wedding photographer or start your own photography business, you're definitely going to need a website, which you can easily build with this video sponsor, Squarespace. Now, I was actually just in a Facebook group earlier that was asking if websites are still relevant since there's social media, and hands down, 1000%, you still need a website, and Squarespace is the best way to do that. Squarespace is an online platform that will help you easily build your website in no time. And I've been using Squarespace for over 10 years now, and they've never let me down. My website is always up, people can always reach it, and it just looks great. And again, social media is awesome, but you need a place for people to find you online that will help your SEO in the long term. And also, it just makes you look like more of a legit business. I tell this to photographers all the time, but you may want to lean on social media, but I don't see any of these larger companies leaning only on social media. So keep that in mind if you're looking to make money. On top of how easy it is to build your website as well, there's a bunch of great features. There's invoices, there's commerce. You can sell physical and digital products. You can sell courses. There's just a handful of great features. And honestly, year over year, they're always adding new things. So who knows what else they're going to be doing next. Make sure to use the link in the description below for 10% off of your first website or domain. So let's talk about the things that I'm curious about with the camera, since I haven't had a chance to actually use the 100S2 just yet. So I've already unboxed the 100S2, but I haven't had a chance to actually use it yet. I am going to be second shooting at a wedding this weekend, so I'm going to bring that along, and I'm curious to see how it performs. The biggest thing I'm curious about is the difference between the sensors. You may be thinking there's just a price difference between the two cameras, with the 102 at about $7,500 and the 100S2 at $5,000. But the sensors are actually just a little bit different. The 102 has the CMOS 2HS, standing for high speed, whereas the 100S2 only has the CMOS 2. They both have the same processor, and everything else about the sensor is about the same except for the high speed difference. Now, I'm curious if that's going to make a huge difference with autofocus and how it's actually buffering to your SD cards. Because if there's not a large difference there, the 100S2 is going to be a great purchase for anyone looking to move into medium format digital. And I've shot a large amount of sessions with the 102, so I'm very familiar with how that one feels. So I'm sure at this wedding, I'm going to know immediately the difference between that sensor. I've also heard as well from some people that the raw files edit a little bit different between the 100S2 and the 102, but I'm not totally sure. So we'll see how that ends up working out. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see a video comparing the raw files from the 102 and the 100S2, because I'm actually very curious myself if it really is true that the raw files feel different when you're editing them. I'm also curious if the amount of frames per second is going to feel different between the two cameras. Now, again, when you're in burst mode, we're talking 8 frames versus 7 frames. It's not that huge of a difference. And again, I rarely shoot at 8 frames anyway. So I'm curious how it's going to feel, because really, I'm super excited for the 100S2. And I'm thinking about selling my 102 and getting 2 100S2s. That way I can just shoot weddings, full GFX, because the 100S2 is bringing the performance that the 102 has without all the extra bloat to it. So if you haven't had a chance to check out any of my videos yet with the GFX, I'm going to link some of them up above. Make sure to check those out to learn more about just the GFX, how I feel about it overall, while you're waiting for the videos I'm going to make. So I'm definitely going to do a GFX 100S2 versus the 102. I'll probably put the same lens on them. I'll see if I can get another 55. That's hands down one of my favorite lenses. I'll shoot RAW and JPEG on that so we can compare both just what's coming straight up out the camera and then how the RAWs are actually working. I think I'll also probably do a recap about how I feel about both of the cameras. Again, I've used the 102 a lot. I have a full wedding day video I'm currently working on now that I hope to have out in the fall, where I'm shooting only the 102. Also, I had the video that I just dropped where I was at a styled shoot shooting with only the 102. I'll link that up above as well. So I love that camera. But again, between the price, the weight, and just like small things I don't need. Like I don't need a battery grip. I don't need the changeable viewfinder. The 100S2 hits that sweet spot for me. So those are the main videos I'm planning to do. But if you have any other suggestions, any other questions about what you want to see with the 100S2 versus the 102, please let me know, because I want to make enough content that you all can see the differences, because I really feel like most of the internet is looking at both these cameras and they're like, well, this one's cheaper and it does most of the stuff, so what's the point in the 102? There's definitely a point. It's a great camera. And again, the video is much better. Speaking of video, the biggest difference is there. 100S2 is only giving you 4K 30, whereas the 102, you get 4K 60, you get 8K 30. So there's a lot of options there. I found myself actually using it for my own videos. When I record gear or anything like that, I'll shoot at 8K 30. That way I can punch in on it if I need to get close-ups of like USB ports or any details of the product. And then I can do 4K 60 if I'm doing like a wedding video or something of that sort. So it's really the difference between, do you need versatility, which you're going to get with the 102, or do you just need a stills camera, which you'll get with the 100S2? That's kind of my personal opinion. And so when it comes down to who this camera is actually for, that's, I think, the deciding factors. You're getting the great 102 megapixels out of both cameras. You're getting great performance if you're doing stuff like studio work where you can sit down and you have more time. Obviously, the 102 is going to give you more speed, but the real question is, how much more speed is it? I don't know if it'll make that big of a difference, because again, I've done a full wedding with the 100S, which I'll link that video up above as well. And it felt a little slow, just a little bit for weddings. So again, it's not a slow camera, but for medium format and weddings, it was just a little too slow. And I think the 100S2 is going to make up for that with the performance that it has. So that's who I think these two cameras are going to be for. Someone who needs still work, who has time, doesn't need to be extremely fast, doesn't care about video as much, but can take a little bit when and where they need. That's going to be the 100S2. Save yourself a little bit of money, invest that back into the lenses. The GFX lenses are not the cheapest in the world, but they're absolutely amazing glass. So that's who the 100S2 is for. If you want all the bells and whistles, you have some disposable income, the 102 is definitely going to be the camera for you, especially if you're doing video. Like I said again, I'm really thinking about rigging out my 102 and then doing all my video production through the 102 that way, now that I've gotten rid of my XH2S. If you all own any of the GFX systems, let me know which one in the comments below. Let me know what you love about the system and if you would ever upgrade to the 100S2 or the 102. And I'll catch y'all next time.